You meet someone new, they seem perfect, and without even noticing, you start setting traps. You take a little longer to text back. You mention an ex you don't actually think about. You watch how they react when you cancel plans. You tell yourself you're just being careful, but the real answer is far stranger. You're not being careful. You're running an ancient survival program, and it's been running since long before you ever had a phone to leave on red. Think about the last time you liked someone, really liked them. Did you relax into it? Or did some quiet part of you start watching for cracks? Most people do the second thing. Psychologists have a name for this. It's called approach avoidance conflict, and it shows up most powerfully in the earliest stage of attraction. You want closeness, but closeness is risky. So your brain does something clever. It sends you toward the person, then pulls you back, just enough to test if the ground is solid. This isn't a flaw in your personality. It's a feature inherited from a much older world. For most of human history, choosing a mate wasn't just a matter of the heart. It was a matter of survival. The wrong partner could mean abandonment with a child to raise alone, exposure to violence, or the loss of resources your whole group depended on. So evolution built in a filter. Before you let yourself fully bond, you unconsciously check, will this person stay when things get hard? The British psychiatrist John Bowlby spent decades studying this exact question. Though not in dating couples, he studied infants and their caregivers. He found that children develop what he called attachment styles, internal blueprints for how safe or unsafe closeness feels. If caregiving was consistent, the child grows up expecting people to be reliable. If it was unpredictable, the child grows up scanning for danger in connection itself. Here's the strange part. That blueprint doesn't stay in childhood. It rides along into every relationship you ever have, including the one that might be forming in your messages right now. Bowlby's collaborator, Mary Ainsworth, took this further. In her famous strange situation experiments, she watched what toddlers did when a caregiver left the room and then returned. Some children ran straight to the parent, calmed down, and went back to playing. Others stayed wary even after reunion, as if the relief hadn't fully landed. Others avoided the parent altogether, acting like the separation hadn't bothered them at all, even though their heart rate said otherwise. Sound familiar? It should, because as adults, many of us run a quiet version of the strange situation on every new partner. We create a small separation, a delayed text, a canceled plan, a flicker of distance, and then we watch how they come back. Do they reach for us? Do they pull away too? Do they not seem to notice at all? You're not trying to sabotage anything. You're trying to answer one question your nervous system has been asking since before you could speak. Is this person safe to need? But here's the twist almost nobody talks about. The testing itself can create the very outcome you're afraid of. The psychologist Arthur Aron, known for his research on closeness and what he calls self-expansion, found that relationships deepen fastest through mutual vulnerability, not strategic distance. In his most famous study, strangers who exchanged increasingly personal questions and held sustained eye contact reported powerful feelings of closeness in under an hour. Not because they tested each other, because they didn't. Vulnerability, offered first and met with care, builds trust faster than any defensive maneuver ever could. But vulnerability also feels like free falling. And free falling is exactly what your ancestors' brains were built to avoid. So you compromise. You offer just enough to seem interested, and withhold just enough to stay protected. You let the relationship inch forward in increments small enough that if it ends, you can tell yourself you never really cared that much anyway. It's a clever trick. It's also a quiet form of self-sabotage. The relationship researcher Eli Finkel, who has spent years studying modern romantic expectations, points out something important about today's dating landscape. We now ask one partner to be everything an entire village used to provide. Best friend, lover, financial partner, emotional anchor. That's an enormous amount of trust to place in one person. No wonder your defenses fire early and fire hard. The stakes, at least to your nervous system, have never felt higher. But notice what's actually happening underneath the testing. You're not protecting yourself from the wrong person. You're often protecting yourself from your own hope. Hope is the dangerous part. Hope means you've already started imagining a future. And if you've already started imagining it, losing it will hurt. So the small tests aren't really about them. They're about buying yourself a little distance from how much you already want this to work. Here's what almost no one tells you. The people most capable of healthy love aren't the ones who never feel that fear. They're the ones who feel it and choose openness anyway. Researchers who study secure attachment describe it not as the absence of anxiety, but as the ability to stay present despite it. Secure people still notice the urge to test. They just don't always obey it. That's the real shift. Not eliminating the instinct, but recognizing it the moment it shows up. The delayed reply you're drafting. The plan you're about to cancel just to see what happens. The distance you're creating is disguised as independence. Next time you feel that pull, pause for 1 second. Ask yourself honestly, am I protecting myself or am I just scared of how much I already like this person? That single question won't undo 100,000 years of evolutionary caution. But it might be enough to let one good thing through. You meet someone new. They seem perfect. And this time, instead of setting a trap, you let yourself stay close enough to find out if they actually are.